Hello Internet, it's Glenn. I want to talk again really quickly about X-Wing. So if you've been watching our site for a while, you know that one of my gaming resolutions this last year was to start logging my plays. Which was better than last year, but I haven't necessarily been super consistent with it. I'm usually good for about a month, and then I blow it off and I get really bad at it. But in the midst of that inconsistency, I did manage to somehow set a milestone, and that was I managed to log over 100 plays of X-Wing just this year. Yeah, just this year. 100 plays of X-Wing, which is quite a milestone. So with Eamdar Alpha this weekend, as well as in the spirit of that milestone, I wanted to talk about the 10 biggest misconceptions about certain rules in the game. Number 1, target locks. So in a competitive environment, if you are doing a target lock, you have to declare who you're target locking and then see if you're able to get them within your range ruler. If you are not able to then at that point target lock that person, you can move on and try and target lock someone else or perform some other action. So target lock is one of the few actions that you kind of have to be very specific about before you say something. Usually there's a little bit of gray room with something like a focus or evade, but it's definitely true that you have to declare a target lock as you're doing it. Now number 2, as long as we're talking about actions that are specific and you have to declare ahead of time, let's talk about boost and barrel roll. In a competitive environment, you have to say you are boosting or barrel rolling and which direction you are heading when you do that. Now most people usually just kind of assume once you've put the template down on the table, you're doing it to, say, the right side, or you're banking kind of to the right with a boost. But that placement serves as a declaration. And if you can land that boost or barrel roll, you have to complete it. So if you can land, say, a barrel roll to the right, in any way, even if it's not exactly how you had expected it to land, you have to then perform that action. However, this is made a little bit weirder by number 3, which is you can boost or barrel roll off the map. So in number 2, if you boost or barrel roll, say, into another ship or an object like an asteroid, it cancels that action. You basically revert your ship back and then you can perform another action, either boost or barrel roll a different direction, or something else entirely. However, counterintuitively, if you boost or barrel roll off the map, that ship has fled the battlefield and is thereby destroyed. It's a little bit weird, but hey, it's true. Now, speaking of fleeing the battlefield, number 4, obviously, if your ship's base ever leaves the playing area, your ship is destroyed immediately. It's considered leaving the battlefield. However, if your ship's template goes off the battlefield, but your ship remains in the battlefield. So say, for example, you do a hard 3, the 3 turns off the battlefield, but the base lands squarely back on the map. You know what happens? You're safe. The Force was strong with you, my young Padawan. Now, number 5, speaking of missiles. Wait, who was talking about missiles? I guess nobody was. But, number 1, if you fire a missile, it doesn't count off for the other person's points at the end of the game. This occasionally comes up where someone, say, for example, fired off a missile and you flip it face down, and then at the end of the game they'll say, oh, but I fired that missile. You know, like, so it doesn't count towards your total points destroyed. And actually it does. Firing a missile doesn't jettison points. If they destroyed the ship which fired the missile, you count the total points on that ship that were on the ship at the beginning of the game. Number 2, really quickly, is with any secondary weapon, range doesn't matter. So if you're at range 1 and you fire a cluster missiles at somebody, you don't roll 4 dice for that, for example. The reverse of that is also true. If you're at range 3 and someone fires a proton torpedo at you, you don't get an extra green die for that as well. So number 7, I just want to mention one quick thing to tournament organizers. You guys are awesome, but I do want to just throw out one quick plea. One of the biggest difficulties I find right now with X-Wing tournaments is that there's incredibly inconsistent scoring. So especially since Store Championships, the scoring that Fantasy Flight has put out, the kind of 5 points for a full win, 3 points for modified win, 1 for draw, and 0 for loss, is really fantastic scoring. And one of the difficulties that I find generally is that stores don't really know how to score things generally. One store will be just straight wins losses. One store will be most points destroyed at the end of the thing. And so this is just a quick plea. You guys are awesome. We are really thankful that you're willing to have us come to your stores and to your cons and things like that to have us play X-Wing. We really appreciate it. But it would be really helpful if we can have some consistent scoring on that one. Just this last week, in fact, somebody posted some JavaScript software for scoring X-Wing tournaments. I'll post a link down in the what have you. I don't know if it's any good. I hope that it is. Please just do a little strength of schedule. I know it stinks, but please, it's really helpful. Number 8. There is no more banned list or FAQ when new stuff is released. So if, for example, Wave 5 dropped tomorrow, you should be able to play it in a tournament. That's the new rule. If something comes out, unless there is a banned list, there's no banned list. Does that make sense? It's good unless you hear otherwise. Number 9, let's talk about asteroids and K-turns. If your ship hits or overlaps with an asteroid when you do a K-turn, you still complete the K-turn, even if you land on the asteroid. So in other words, if you're doing a K-turn, the only time you don't complete a K-turn is if your ship bumps another ship while doing the K-turn and you can't complete it. Again, if you overlap or if your template overlaps an asteroid, you are fine to complete that K-turn. You still get stress, you still roll for damage, you still don't get to shoot if you land on the asteroid, but you complete the maneuver. Yay! Number 10, initiative. This one's fine, but it's worth pointing out that if it's your first time to a tournament, in the rule book it says Imperials always have initiative. That's not really true. In a tournament, the person who decides who gets initiative is the person who has the least number of points used in their total build. So in other words, if I show up with a list that's 99 points and you use your full 100 points, I get to determine who goes first. Now if we both show up with the same amount of points, let's say we both show up with 99 points or we both show up with 100 points, then we just do a coin toss. Or often the way we settle it kind of out here is roll 3 dice, whoever gets the most focuses wins. And the winner will then be the one who determines who gets initiative. And that's just another quick change as well. You determine who takes initiative. You can choose to give initiative to somebody else, or you can choose to take initiative if that works more advantageous to your build. Most of the time it will, but not always. And as a quick bonus of just number 11, Howlrunner's a woman. So the proper pronoun is she or her. Same is true of Ibbot Kath Scarlet, and Jan Ors. If you liked this video, throw us a like and subscribe. And otherwise, keep playing awesome games. And we'll see you guys next time.